So I like to learn. So Eleanor, my two strengths, I am a clinical psychologist. I own a very successful private practice. Those are my two strengths. My vulnerability is I always get scheduled after Eleanor and Camelita. So, so I will do my best, ladies. I will do my best. So emotional intelligence in life, business, and money. I think Sharon had a really great question. How many of us are intimidated by money? Oh, not many. Okay. So let's see by the time I'm done, right? Okay, what is leadership? Leadership is the action of leading a group or an organization. There's actually 5 components when we look at leadership. The first is social influence. What are we doing to influence society? What are we doing to give back? Support of others, but also support of yourself. How are you being supported? And a common task. Generally in Kemmer's 1997, the theory of integrative leadership, we see that these 3 are very important when it comes to leadership. I've added 2 more, understanding and management. Now, when we look at understanding and management, we're going to look into emotional intelligence. So what is it? Well, it's the ability to know and to understand. And it is the ability to manage. We need to know ourselves, and we need to manage ourselves. How many of you know yourself, like truly know yourselves? How many of you can manage yourself? I don't know, okay. We might think we do. You know, I always say, one of the examples I give in knowing myself is I know that sometimes I tend to not eat throughout the day. And I also know that my blood sugar, I'm not diabetic, but my blood sugar goes very, very low. And I understand that when I don't eat throughout the day, I can become quite irritable, quite cranky, and I didn't say, Louise, I was cranky right now. I'm good, thank you. As if you saw, I did go up twice to get snacks just in case, right? So I did manage myself. So if I don't eat, I am not who I normally am. If you all remember that Snickers commercial, right? Right? It's a very visual, right? If you're not taking care of yourself, you're not managing yourself correctly. So this becomes super, super important. We heard Bob this morning talk about being genuine and authentic. It is very hard if we can't manage ourselves. The second part to knowing and understanding is knowing and understanding others. How well do we actually know others? And if we know others that well, how well are we managing those relationships with others? Are we truly managing those relationships? Or are we just imposing what our needs are to another person? So when you look at your life, you're going to see this chart 3 times. Because we're going to do it for your life, your business, and your money. But we're going to relate emotional intelligence as it subscribes to your money. So moving forward, we're really going to focus in on your money. So in your life, if you know yourself, you know others, you manage yourself, and you manage relationships with others, and I didn't talk to Bob about his presentation, you're actually coming from your core. That place of strength, the place of love. It doesn't mean that you're in love with someone. It doesn't mean that you're constantly always happy. It means that you are doing your best and doing what is right. It doesn't necessarily mean you like everything, but you're coming from that center, that core. When we come from that core, we will never fail. When you can connect to that core, you will be on fire. And I think, was it Kate you said this morning, right? Being on fire? I think I heard you say that this morning. Being on fire. One thing that has been true in my life is that when I am on fire, I am unstoppable, period. Right? And I want all of you to be on fire with me. When I was little, my uncle used to say to me, aquí viene la bola de humo. Here comes the puff of smoke. Right? And 5 years old, I'm like, what does that mean? And he'd say, because whenever you come through a room, whatever you leave is just the smoke from the fire that you have. And I didn't quite understand what it meant until I started to grow older. And I started to see that when I would walk into a room, my presence would fill that room and I would leave people inspired. That's coming from your place of core. That's being able to understand that it is not about you, like Bob said, but it is coming from that center when you can manage these 4 components of your life so well, so well, that nothing really matters. Nothing else really matters for you because you're being authentic and you're being true. So when it comes to your business, you have to know your business, you have to know your customer, you have to manage your business, and you have to manage your relationships with your customers. The best organizations, the best brands do this effectively. How many of you can think of those top brands and apply this to them and realize that they do it well? I can think of several. Your money. You have to know yourself in relation to money. Who are you when it comes to money? Do you know your money? Do you really truly know your money? How many of us check our statements on a regular basis? And by that I mean more than just like once every 3 months. How many of you check it daily? Okay, wonderful. You need to know your money. How many of you can manage your emotions in relation to money? Uh-oh, one person, right? One person, this is 2 people, two, we've got 2. Well, you can manage it better if the statement is greater, right? If there's more money in the account, generally we can manage our emotions a little bit better. How do you manage your relationships with money? How do you manage those emotions? Because those emotions, believe it or not, take away from our wealth. So let me tell you a little bit about the components of EI, and I'm doing this, and so when Sharon asked me to do this, I was like, I'm not really going to do the normal presentation that I do because I really want you guys to not only understand emotional intelligence, but how it's really impacted by our emotions. And just so you know, Sharon, someone who's heard me before said, do I really have to sit and listen to this? And I said, yes, you do, because it's a different presentation. So there's 5 components. We have stress and I won't say who it was. Stress management, interpersonal decision-making, self-expression, and self-perception. Emotional intelligence has those 5 main components. Main components, because I will now show you how much more there is to our emotional life. Stress management. When we deal with stress management, we're dealing with flexibility, stress tolerance, and optimism. How flexible are you at adapting your emotions? How do you handle stress? Can you cope with stressful situations? Can you cope when a creditor is coming and calling you? Can you cope when you have 1 cent in that account? Can you cope with things? How about your optimism, positive attitude and outlook on life? It doesn't mean being Pollyannish, and we heard that from Bob this morning. It means being optimistic, understanding that you have the power to control your world. Interpersonal. We have interpersonal relationships. Do you have mutually satisfying relationships? Do you have a mutually satisfying relationship with your money? A lot of people do not. A lot of people don't like to talk about money. A lot of people don't like to look at their bank accounts. A lot of people, I've been in practice for many, many, many years, and I can tell you, people will tell me more about what they do in the bedroom than what's in their bank account. There might be, exactly. I think you might be an outlier, and we'll learn about outliers in a minute. So Empathy is understanding and appreciating how others feel. How do others feel? How do others feel when it comes to money? Money is a very difficult conversation, and we heard about that before. Having difficult conversations. Money is having difficult conversations. How about our social responsibility? How socially conscious are we? How helpful are we? How much do we provide value to others? We heard, again, Bob talk about this. I was like, oh, he's taking all my good stuff, right? Self-regard, self-perception. We have self-regard, which is respecting oneself and having confidence. I get a lot of women that tell me, oh my gosh, I thought my self-regard was higher. I thought my self-actualization was higher. But when we really begin to dig out and move things and move layers, we actually begin to see that where you want to be is not maybe where you are. And you need a little bit more work, a little bit more support to be able to do that. So with self-regard, we're respecting ourselves. We're having confidence. How many of you actually have that confidence to move forward? Have that confidence for asking venture capitalists, right? We saw the numbers. We saw the numbers before. We saw Eleanor's numbers. Not many. Self-actualization, pursuit of meaning, and self-improvement. Emotional self-awareness. How do we understand our own emotions? Do we really understand what we're feeling? I can tell you that in my practice, and I've been in practice for probably private practice almost 14, 15 years, and in this since I was 18 years old. So I've been in the field of mental health and dealing with individuals since I was 18. I can tell you that most people don't understand their emotions. Most people don't get it. Self-expression, emotional expression, constructive expression of emotions, assertiveness, communicating feelings, beliefs, and being non-offensive. When it comes to money, I can tell you sometimes people do get very aggressive. People get very uptight, very upset when you're dealing with money. And independence. Exactly. Exactly. I have to take you with me more often, Louise. So in independence, are we self-directed and free from emotional dependence? This is another one where people actually tell me, I'm an independent person. This isn't about being an independent person. This is about being emotionally independent. As a Latina, I know that we cannot make a decision unless we ask our mother, our father, our grandfather, our aunt, our cousin 3 times removed before we can actually move. That is very debilitating. That is extremely debilitating. Are you independent enough, secure enough in yourself that you can take that step, take that movement to grow? Decision making. How good are you at problem solving? Especially when emotions are involved. How good at you are with reality testing. And we had this conversation on expectations the other day with one of the webinars that we had with Angela and Sharon. And expectations tend to always get us because we believe that things will go a particular way, and generally it's not in line with what reality tells us. It's not in line with what the patterns say. How impulsive are we? And this is a huge problem with money, right? Can we resist or delay an impulse to act? Generally, a lot of people cannot. So areas that most impact our emotions when dealing with money from the list I just showed you: impulse control, stress tolerance, and problem solving. Huge, huge problems when it comes to us and money. So what controls our emotions? I'm going to move over here because I'm not sure if you can see it. You see this little thing right here? It's actually called the amygdala. Anyone ever heard of the amygdala? Okay. So I blew it up a little bit because it's so tiny, right? It's actually the size of an almond. So I put an almond in here just for you to know. I would have actually given you almonds, but I wasn't sure if anyone had a peanut allergy. This is how small the center of our brain is that controls our emotions. When this is flooded with emotions, we cannot think. So what happens when we're in a high emotion state? This is the bell curve. Intelligence is at 100. That's our mean. When we are in a high emotional state, our IQ drops 15 points, temporarily, but it drops 15 points. This is bad, and I'm going to show you why. This is why I put the bell curve here. If we're at the mean of 100, right, and most individuals fall, as you can see, 68% of the population fall between 85 and 115. If we subtract 15 from 100, we're down to 85. Average intelligence is from 90 to 110. So you are now below average intelligence. Momentarily, but below average intelligence. Even if, and I put it this way because people say, well, you know, the smart people have it better because they're smart and they still drop 15 and they're good. No, because look at what happens. As a high performer, and here are the outliers, right, Luis? All right, this is, you're with me. The short one with the right there. Exactly, that's the outlier. You can't even see you. Exactly. So even if you're, let's say, at 130 and you drop to 115, which is the upper level of high intelligence, right? You're now considered an average performer. So you're thinking the way you're processing information is less than what you normally can do. That becomes a problem. So is your current emotion, I need money? How many of us have ever been in that situation? I need money. I need money yesterday. I need money today. I needed money 3 years ago, right? So Warren Buffett, if you cannot control your emotions, you cannot control your money. This is what I need you to take away from this. If you cannot control your emotions, if you cannot control that amygdala, that almond shape, you cannot control your money. But I want money. I'm not sure. I think you want sex, Louise, but that's a different story. So I love you. I love you. I love you. So your emotions, this is it's an example. This really didn't happen, but I want you to see how our emotions can lead us astray. This is from the source is BlackRock, and if you can see, right, if you're at the 100,000, it's positive. This is an example of like an S&P, right? If it's going up, you're confident. If it goes more, you're thrilled, you're euphoric, and then you're surprised, nervous, worried, panic-stricken, right? This is what happens. This is the roller coaster ride of emotions. So why is it important to focus on women and finances? Because 51% versus 71% of women handle cash flow so they spend less than they make each month versus the 71% for men. 36% regularly pay off their credit card bills each month versus the 61% for men. 74% pay their bills on time versus the 90% for men. 34% have an emergency fund versus 53% for men. 40% have a general knowledge of stocks and bonds versus the 70%, thus the importance of the money school. 24% being confident in investments that are allocated appropriately versus 40% of men. So do you look like this when you do your bills? I don't. Or like this, or like this, or like this, or like this, right? This may be more accurate reflection. What we're doing here in Abundance Live is we're trying to get you to be here, right? So what teaches us negative patterns? Learning. Learning teaches us, and I'm almost sure it was Bob who said something about learning, right? Learning. Learning teaches us. And Sharon, this one's for you, right? Because I know your love for kids and money and teaching. If you look at this and you look at where, parents are doing spending and saving, they're only doing 46% of teaching that to children. So we're learning our money patterns through what we're seeing, through observational learning. So money and us is really tied with learning patterns. So what keeps us in a negative pattern? I deserve it. I worked for it. Why not? Everyone else has it. Just this once. It's my gift to myself. I always wanted one. If I don't get one now, I will never have one. These are the negative patterns, the negative emotions that keep us, and they're all a reward system, right? I worked for it. I'm going to reward myself because I worked for it. Why shouldn't I? I worked 80 hours. Why shouldn't I get me something that I can't afford? Why not? I'm going to work tomorrow, or so we think. So why we struggle with money? I can't say no. I have to prove my self-worth. I have a sense of power when I have that money, when I can buy something for myself. I was poor as a child, or I was denied what I wanted. Not needed, wanted as a child. I have a lifestyle that I want to maintain. I want immediate gratification. Again, learning theory at play here, right? Plastic doesn't feel the same. When you give out cash and then you're left with nothing, there's nothing, right? Plastic, you just keep swiping and swiping and swiping. The money is on its way. And I think in one of the sessions for Money School, you say that, right? You plan for 30 days, and the return on the money doesn't come until 90 days. So what do you do in those 60 days when you don't have the money to pay? Avoidance, and I know I'm out of time, but I want to finish this off for you guys. Avoidance, so don't interrupt me again. We want to keep up the appearances, right? And so remember, no more effort is required to aim high in life, to demand abundance and prosperity, than is required to accept misery and poverty. When we think that there is a struggle, when we think that there is poverty, we cannot let abundance live. When you are cognitively clicked into believing that struggle and poverty exist, abundance can't live. So I want you to live a life of abundance, right? And what does that mean? And Sharon, this is a nod to you, right? Assets. We need to build assets. We need to budget, or spending plans as you call them. We need to undo learned patterns, unlearn patterns that we have. Negotiation, debt reduction, active income. We need needs assessments. We need to create goals or create IP. That was for Dad. And expand your means. And I want you to live a life on fire. I want you to be fiercely focused, singularly focused, so singularly focused that there's nothing that stops you from your goal. When I started my doctoral dissertation, or my doctorate actually, people say, how can you keep yourself in a tunnel? Because you feel like you're in a tunnel that's dark. I said, because there's a pin of light at the end, and I can see that pin of light. And every step I take towards it, the light gets bigger. And every step I take towards it, it gets bigger. So I know that what I'm heading towards is something great. And that's what I want you guys to realize. When you stay singularly, fiercely focused, you will achieve greatness. You need to be intentional. Not have intentions, but be intentional with your actions. You have to have a reason. My reason is my children. I tell them, my heart beats for you. I live for them. My heart beats for you, so I have a reason. And I empower others. I live to share my knowledge. I live so that I can inspire people to hold on to that dot and focus. So I want to teach you some secret steps to financial success. One is respond, not react. You will hear this when I do this for life. I need you to respond to your money, not react to it. You cannot go get another credit card to pay the credit card you didn't pay off. That's a reaction. You need to respond to it. You have to have proper action. Understand your vulnerabilities. What are those vulnerabilities that you have financially? Understand them and correct them. Ignite your passion. And this one, I need you to all stand up for 1 second. So can we all stand up? Give yourself enough room that you can put your hands out. Try. Oh, no, yeah, don't hit somebody. So give yourselves enough room. There's enough room. Spread out a little bit. I want you to think of yourself as the needle on a compass. You guys are going to have to spread out a little bit because I can see people getting smashed in the face. Okay? All right, good. Now what I want you to do is I want you to put this hand with one finger, because you are the compass, okay? I'm going to do it first, and then I want you to do it with me. We're going to turn as far as you can, keep your eye on where that finger goes, and then come back to center. So try it now. Go turn as far as you can, keep your eye on where you're at, and then come back to center. Now I want you to close your eyes. Imagine what you just did. Imagine going around. Keep your eye on where that point was. Can you see that point? Now I want you to go in your mind a little further. Go a little further. Did you go further? Now I want you to go a little further more. I want you to go as far as if you almost did 360. Now I want you to open your eyes, and now I want you to do it again. Let's try it again. How far did you go? I bet you most of you went further than what you thought, correct? So step 4 is that it is you. It is you that is in control. It is you that is in control of both your emotional intelligence and your life. You cannot discover, I'm going to share these 2 things with you, and then we're pretty much wrapping up. You cannot discover new oceans unless you have the courage to lose sight of the shore. That is my belief with my mother. She left her country with nothing to come and give me everything. And this is not about you going back. This is about life being ahead of you, and you run at it, because you never know how far you can run unless you run. So I'm going to leave this with all of you. I want you all to run. Run as fast and as hard as you can, and stay singularly focused on that goal. And I want you to share with everyone, because that's what this is about. We need to share the information. We need to share our knowledge. We need to share what you all have in order to make and empower 1 billion women. So if you want to connect with me, I'm Isaura Gonzales, Dr. Gonzalez. It has been a pleasure to serve you. Thank you.